back now with more from our exclusive interview with Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. In part two, I asked him about his decision that rocked the nation and threw fuel on the Russia investigation, the recommendation to fire FBI Director James Comey. So with regard to the Russia investigation, do you stand by your recommendation to fire James Comey?
I've testified several times about this, and yes, I do.
Whose idea was it originally to fire the former FBI director?
Well, I've also testified about that, and as I've explained, I'm not going to be talking publicly about anything that may be within the scope of the ongoing investigations.
But in that testimony, you did indicate that you wrote the memo and you believed that the president was on board with that idea when you wrote the memo, correct?
Yes.
So you felt compelled to write this memo based on James Comey's decision not to prosecute Hillary Clinton, which you felt was a wrong decision.
I don't think that's a fair characterization. My memo addresses not the decision whether or not to prosecute or to investigate. It addresses the communication of that information to the public.
How so?
Well, as I explained in the memo, as I've explained publicly, there's a principle in the Department of Justice that's a very important principle, and that is that when we're investigating people, we do it confidentially. We make a determination, that is, our agents make a determination whether to recommend a prosecution. Our federal prosecutors make the ultimate decision whether or not to prosecute. If we decide to prosecute, then we return an indictment and the charges become public. People find out about that information. If we decide not to prosecute, we don't make any disparaging comments about the people we investigate. That's a very fundamental principle of law enforcement.
So given your assessment of that, of his statement in July, and the investigation that you did personally to come to that conclusion, do you see any reason to reopen the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email and the server?
I'm not going to comment about any of our investigations.
Do a deep dive into that investigation in order to come to that conclusion that James Comey had stepped out of bounds in the statement that he made last July?
I've explained the rationale, and my memo reflects my rationale, and I don't have anything more to say about that.
In terms of those, just one more on that, in terms of the people who were part of that investigation who felt that he arrived at the wrong conclusion in not prosecuting, do you feel that they deserve to have that investigation reopened? And did you agree with them or sympathize with that point of view when you dug into it yourself?
That's a very creative way you pose the question, but again, to come back to my answer, I'm not going to be commenting on that. What I've commented on was the publicity surrounding the investigation. I've never commented on the substance of the investigation. I'm not going to do that now.
So are there any DOJ resources going to that question or that issue, whether to reopen that investigation?
So I'm just not going to comment on that.
Okay. With regard to James Comey's decision to leak his memorandums from his conversations with the president, what was your reaction to that when he said that he leaked that information to the press?
As I explained previously, I'm not going to be able to comment about anything that may be related to the ongoing investigation, so I have nothing to say about that.
Well, just in general, do you think would it ever be proper for an FBI director to make notes of a conversation in that regard and leak them to the press? Would that ever be proper?
Those are two different issues. As a general proposition, you have to understand in the Department of Justice, we take confidentiality seriously, and so when we have memoranda about our ongoing matters, we have an obligation to keep that confidential.
So I would take from that you would not approve of any releasing of memorandum written in an interview or discussion with the president to the press?
The general proposition, I think, is quite clear, and it's what we were taught, all of us as prosecutors and agents, that we have an obligation to keep information confidential. I think that's critical for a variety of reasons. We have a responsibility to the people who we're investigating. We have a responsibility to the people conducting those investigations to keep our investigations confidential.
Over to the Mueller special counsel investigation, which you are overseeing, does his relationship with James Comey give you any pause in terms of the appointment, of the decision to appoint him for that post?
I've explained that I made the decision to appoint Director Mueller based upon his reputation. He had an excellent reputation, really bipartisan support for his integrity, and that's why I made that decision. I'm not going to be able to comment upon what he may or may not be investigating, but I can assure you that if there were conflicts that arose because of Director Mueller, anybody employed by Director Mueller, we have a process within the department to take care of that. We have ethics experts who review any allegations of conflicts, so I'm confident that we'll reach the right result.
So it has come out in some of the attorneys that he has hired that several of them have made donations to Hillary Clinton, to the Clinton campaign. Does that bother you? Does it make you believe that those people have any reason to be questioned in terms of their impartiality in this investigation?
You know, the Department of Justice, we judge by results, and so my view about that is we'll see if they do the right thing.
Have you vetoed any of his choices for any attorneys that are working on this case?
I have not personally been involved in any decisions about who to hire.
So you're not doing any oversight on the people that he selects to be part of this investigation?
Well, I would say I'm not doing any micromanagement.
So you have not rejected anyone that has been chosen?
I said I have not been involved in the hiring decision.
Is the Trump administration cooperating with the special counsel?
Well, I'm part of the Trump administration. The special counsel is reporting to me. And the answer to that is certainly yes. You know, we're providing all appropriate cooperation to make sure that investigation is done properly.
So in terms of everyone at the White House that you've asked for things from, or he's asked for things from, they've been forthcoming?
I think you have to keep in mind that the point of having a special counsel is to have some degree of independence from the Department of Justice. So Director Mueller is not reporting to me about individual decisions made in his investigation. We are following the regulation which provides for general oversight by the Attorney General, in this case the Acting Attorney General, but it also provides some degree of insulation, because what we want to be able to do is at the end of the day to be able to say that we appointed somebody who was independent, who made independent decisions, and therefore we can have confidence in the result that they reach.
Has the President or the White House asked you for any update on the investigation that Mueller's doing?
No.
Okay. I think that's everything I have.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming to D.C.
Good to speak with you.